Quentin Martin, CEO, Luckbox, on the Dales Report. All right, we are joined with the CEO of Luckbox, Quentin Martin. How are you, sir?
Hi, very well, thank you. It is a warm, sunny day here on the Isle of Man.
Where are you based out of?
The Isle of Man, it's near the UK.
So between the UK and Ireland?
Absolutely, yes. Home of motorbike racing.
How has, read some reports this week that the UK has been looked upon as like handling the whole COVID virus very, very well. So how's life changed for you over the last couple of months?
So the UK is doing okay. We're very blessed. Our island is quite small and they closed the borders. So where I am, we haven't had any new cases for 60 days.
Wow.
And apart from the borders essentially being closed, we are 100% back to normal for about 2 months now.
That's incredible.
Which is super lucky.
Wow.
And yeah.
So that's going to be good for your potential new investors as you're hard at work nonstop. So let's get into this. Let's talk about the industry. And it appears it's finally receiving the mainstream attention that it rightly deserves since, let's face it, traditional sports took a hiatus back in March. So, now that you have that captivated audience, my first question is, who is Luckbox and why should investors be interested in your story?
Sure. So Luckbox is a fully licensed esports betting platform. It works in exactly the same way as a traditional sports betting platform, Bet365 or a William Hill. But we focus on esports, which are competitive video gaming. This might sound crazy. I mean, it's a pretty easy line. If I talk to somebody who's older than 35 and I say I work in esports, they go, "What is that? The thing my kid, nephew, Fortnite? What?" And if I talk to anyone who's under 35, they go, "Oh my God, that's the coolest thing."
Yeah.
So it is this huge industry. I mean, there were the esports itself did $1 billion in revenue last year. Esports betting adjacent to that also did $1 billion in revenue. So it's fully existent. I mean, there are stats you can riffle off, like the League of Legends World Championships in 2019 had more viewers than the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The year before in the Staples Center in LA, one weekend there was the Lakers home game in the playoffs, and the weekend after was an esports tournament, and it sold out more quickly than the Lakers playoffs. So, everywhere you just see these incredible stats, and obviously the audience, they're 18 to 35, or certainly the betting section of it is, they're younger, they don't have as much disposable income, but their eyeballs are there, and this is 100% some of the sports of the future. Whereas you can see the NFL and the NHL are taking, they're slowly dying. Esports is just taking off. I'll take a bet with anybody that during my lifetime, on whatever active metric you want to judge, esports will be larger than traditional sports.
Your director of product, Carl Bray, last month was quoted as saying, "Luckbox's concept and philosophy, is esports betting done right." In your own words, what does that mean?
So a lot of people in the gambling space, or they don't trust it. There have been scandals back in the day, particularly if you look at, I use the United States as an example. Now, we don't operate there, but there are lots of offshore operators that do illegally operate in the United States. And you have no guarantee as a customer that your money is safe with them when they're there, or any of those types of things. And esports betting had similar scandals in its early days. So, my pedigree, I've been in the gambling industry for, I don't know, 10, 15 years now, more if you include as a professional gamer beforehand. And so, coming from a company like the Stars Group or PokerStars, where we had 26 gambling licenses around the world while I was there, we're taking that type of know-how into Luckbox to make sure that we operate legally in the countries that we operate, that we market to our customers responsibly, that players can gamble responsibly, that their funds are completely safe. It might not sound super sexy, but customer trust is just the first thing that we want to build our company around.
Business side, your first financing round, you far exceeded, I guess, your original target. Expectations were anywhere between 2 and 2.5 million Canadian, and you were able to raise close to or was it over $4 million? And in your latest round, another 630,000 Canadian dollars. So I want to share with us, why are investors clearly taking note of your story?
I guess it's because we're perfect storm is what I've been kind of saying. Perfect place, perfect product, perfect time. I mean, the pandemic pushed us into overdrive, but we were already starting to get the first kind of growth as we came out of soft launch and started spending on marketing. And we built the right product because we took all of the gambling know-how that myself and the rest of the leadership team took from Playtech and GVC and PokerStars, the really big gambling behemoths. And we took that with the esports authenticity that comes from all of us being diehard gamers. I mean, I was a pro gamer for about a decade. And we kind of put that together and with the right licensing, with the right product, it was time to kind of, go back and raise money from the market again. And I was amazed by how well we did given the financial turmoil that was going on in the world. So, but yeah, people are seeing the future. I mean, if you look at it right now and from a gambling perspective, the number one user acquisition channel is traditional sports. But and that's great because users, for example, that are older than 35, that's fine. If they're 25 to 35, they watch about the same amount of traditional sports as computer games. But one of my favorite stats is that 18 to 25-year-olds watch more computer games, not play, watch more computer games than they do traditional sports. So every year, this demographic is just getting older and older and becoming, a larger part of the workforce, of the GDP earning, of wealth distribution. And that means that industries are just going to have to start, paying more attention. A lot already are. I mean, huge sponsors from Red Bull and Coca-Cola and, all sorts.
Well, look at even Twitch, their viewership the last 3 months, biggest numbers ever, which is no surprise, but that's only going to grow. Like, do you think that once people make that transition, they're here to stay? Or do you think as traditional sports starts to come back, you start to see more games being played? Do you think they'll leave, or do you think once you've got them, they're going to stick around for a while?
So, I mean, our hypothesis is actually is actually in effect right now, and it's working. So what we thought was we weren't suddenly having a 60-year-old soccer bettor going, oh, hey, I'm going to try Counter-Strike. And so it wasn't that. It was people that already were affiliated with the games, knew what was going on, but maybe hadn't played them in a while or wasn't watching them. And so we saw increased activity from those that were already with us, and we saw new players come over. So I think what will happen, and we've not seen a drop, the Liga, the Premier League, multiple tournaments and games have come back, and we have not seen a single drop in our current activity. Our growth of new users has returned to similar levels as before, but we've retained it. So I think that these people enjoy it, and it's just another part of their share of their wallet right now. So no, I think we're in a great place, and this pandemic has just accelerated the growth of esports a couple of years into the future.
So where'd the growth come from then? If you don't have the traditional 60-year-old soccer fan that isn't really into Twitch, why was there so much more viewership if the audience was already there, even with not following traditional sports?
I think some was where there was overlap, like people who love playing soccer and love playing computer games, and they maybe hadn't appreciated that this was as much of an option as earlier. Part of it might have been that during the lockdown, people are playing computer games. It's a great way to socialize with your friends as well. So they kind of came back to it. And part of it may just have been because there wasn't any traditional sports on TV, but it's so compelling. I mean, I don't play Dota 2, for example, which is one of the biggest games. And I went to an arena, 30,000 people, completely sold out. I really didn't, I understand the basic rules, but not beyond that. And it was incredible. I had the time of my life. So it's very, very enjoyable and active. There's so many engagement moments and good narratives and great play. So I think people just realized it's just a fantastic set of sports.
Yeah. So last month you announced that you've added an additional 5 languages, enabling yourself to basically communicate new features to a global audience. So pretty much makes sense, but why is this so important? And when you're making that decision, how do you know what 5 languages to pick?
That's a good question. So licensing is complicated in the space, and our license allows us to attract users from about a third of the world. So we're looking at Canada, Latin America, various countries in Europe and Eastern Europe and parts of Asia. So it's really a matter of understanding the licensing framework and which countries not only have an affiliation and passion for esports, but are also ones that we can market to. So part of that was experience from the industry. Part of that was trial and error as a result of the marketing team. You
recently added 4 premier sports wagering markets as well, including FIFA, Rocket League, Rainbow Six, and NBA 2K, which, let's face it, exploded over the last 3 to 4 months. So when you have a game that explodes onto the scene like this, what does that look like from an operational standpoint behind the scenes for a company like Luckbox?
Sure. So, I mean, if it's a game that we already support, it's a matter of going out there and researching and getting more odds or data sources and working with more partners. If it's one that we don't have, it's a matter of prioritizing and getting it live, which is what we did with FIFA and NBA 2K. Now, there's an area where they made up less than 1% betting volume before the pandemic, and shot amongst ourselves and many other operators to 10% plus during it.
Wow.
But this is like a flash in the pan. This is an area where we
Right.
expected to see decline afterwards and has, because it is very much the more traditional sports person going, oh, hey, this is exactly like the thing that I already know, and I can take my know-how and my betting knowledge and bet on the first goal scorer and whatnot, and I get it. So that those, some of those games, I mean, Rocket League, no, that will stay and be around for a while, but the reality in esports betting is the big three titles, Counter-Strike, Dota 2, and League of Legends, make up
Right.
80 to 90% of the betting volume. So it's important to have the new titles to gain that little marketing edge, to get the new bits of traffic and find those niches. But right now, for at least for a foreseeable future as well, it's really those big three that are going to make up the.
Yeah, for sure it has. Last thing I'll leave you with is, investors a lot of the times are still learning, like, who should I invest in? How are these companies making revenue exactly? So let's end it like this. What is your 12-month growth plan? And let's leave it off. It's like why investors should strongly consider knowing that you're going public later this year on the TSX Venture.
Sure, yeah. So we should be listed in first half of October. As with growth plan, so the business model is exactly the same as traditional sports betting. Customers come to our site, they deposit their money, they bet. We take essentially a margin, and that's where we make our money. So our growth strategy is we've done very little marketing historically, and a lot of a substantial section of the raise that we've just completed, which is about 5 million in the end, will be spent on marketing. So we're going to see a huge organic growth throughout the world in the territories that we're looking to spend in. In parallel, we're looking to hopefully announce at least one acquisition in the next 6 months, and potentially launching a second business vertical as well. So we recognize that we have to up our game as part of being public. We can't stay still.
No.
But really, we've got a leadership team for that, and that's kind of been the strategy all along. And we've just really accelerated it now, and we've got the cash to be able to take advantage of this perfect one.
Good for you. Best of luck. Keep in touch. Thanks for joining us here today.